Hey there, want to just wrap up that shaft project. So I had met up with a guy on Monday for the very first time, and he's a heavy equipment mechanic and oil field and mine type of maintainer, and he's got a power takeoff adapter that he needs made. So that's what we were talking about. Then Tuesday, just before lunchtime, he touched base with me that a customer of his has a heavy trailer that's broken axle. So I talked to the mechanic for that company, and he wasn't too clear on what was going on. A little hard to get a hold of, even though he wanted it quick time. So they had contacted a lot of other shops, and nobody had bandwidth. It worked out well. I now work on the opposite side of town, so I've been putting together some suppliers on this side of Phoenix, and this is the west side, and there's a lot less than there is on the in Phoenix or on the east side. So but there happens to be a good steel supplier near my day job. So I had to be really proactive to pin down that mechanic on what's going on, what's needed, and in a moment I'll tell you that he still didn't give all the information. Would have saved him a lot of money. But anyway, so I scrambled during lunch. I went down to the steel supplier and ordered the material. Then I went back to work. They cut it in the meantime. Then I picked it up on my way home. So on my way home, I bring it, and I had my car, not my truck. Again, almost a 3 foot long shaft, 125 pounds. I put it in the back seat on the floorboard area because I didn't want it to roll around. That's a lot easier to put in than it is to take out. So anyways, there's I couldn't do video of all of it because it was just so fast paced, and I wanted to try to move through the work, and figures that everything went pretty well. A little slow. But the first step I did was I, of course, deburred it, and then I put it on the mill, and I'll show you that in a moment, and there's a photo of it set up because I've delivered the shaft. Put on the mill, vertically oriented, hanging off the table so I could drill the center for the center on the lathe. I haven't used a steady rest yet, and that would have been the option too, is to put it on the lathe, set up the steady rest, and then do the center then. I was just more comfortable on the mill, making sure I hit dead center, because the other thing with this shaft, it's a 4-inch spec, but it was like 12 thou under, and we needed 3.981 is what he wanted, and we were already low, and so I had to make sure everything was as true as possible. So I'm going to take that moment right now to say the Precision Mathews 1640 TL lathe is dead nuts from the headstock to the tailstock out of the box. Less than a thou difference. Run out, less than a thou. When I cut that shaft, it was straight. There is zero taper in that shaft. I measured 6, 7, 8 different positions, all on the number. And I did have to go 2 thou under his measurement, so I hit it pretty good, but in order to get the whole shaft to clean up, I had to go a touch over. Now that goes back to communication. So I didn't know to ask certain questions, but Ends up being this is a Band-Aid. So it breaks the axle. It's got a crane on the back of the trailer. It's a heavy trailer. So they get the crane off, transfer it to a different trailer, and they're going to take the trailer back to their maintenance facility and order the correct axle for it. So this was a temporary so that they could stabilize it and then ratchet it down onto the tow flatbed or however they were going to transport it, just so it wouldn't be wiggling around missing one tire assembly. So he should have told me that that's what it is, because it would have saved hours, because I could cut at a high rate on the lathe and not worry about a little low spot, like the middle was a little low, and it would have only taken a couple hours. But I had several hours into it, because that last pass takes like an hour, going slow, cleaning it up, and it had a little bit of grooves because I only took a thou off on the last pass. You know, at least you want to take 5, but there wasn't any material left. And so anyways, I spent a good amount of time with Cratex and Scotch-Brite and a little bit of sandpaper just to kind of polish it up. Didn't need to do any of that, but he didn't mention that. So anyways, so 10 o'clock at night, the turning is done, but it's not cut to length yet. And one-man shop, and my setup takes a little while, but it went well. Everything went well with this, which I wish I could have put it all on video, because so many things I've done on video that I've done before, and I goof them up on video. Makes me look like the village idiot. Makes me look like the electrical guy that everything he does, he electrocutes himself. Anyways, so I message him at 10 o'clock at night. I get a response from him at 5:30 the next morning, saying how that'll throw him off. You know, this is like a regional company, and he would have to go back and then come back to go back to his main area of operations, and come back here. It would have delayed him. So anyways, I changed gears immediately. I just woke up, I come in the shop, I grab the material, I put it on my 7x12 saw, it's cutting good. Oh, in that conversation with him the next morning, he's like, oh, just cut it with a chop saw. That's when I found out that it's temporary, because I thought I was going to have to cut the ends, put it back on the lathe with the steady rest, and finish the ends out. Now that would be a great video too, but anyways, didn't have to do that stuff. So I cut it. It cut pretty straight. The saw liked cutting it. It was cold rolled steel. It likes cutting that better than it does aluminum. And I'm not going to change the blade 100 times. The blades are hard to change on those saws. So yeah, I change gears. I do one cut. I reach out to my employer to see, hey, can I come in a little bit late? And that way I could deliver this shaft to the guy out in the middle of, well, hour and a half away from here. And so I flip it, do the other cut, then I jump in the shower real quick, and I head towards work. And on my way to work, just before I got there, I get a call back from my employer, and they gave me the okay. So I just keep going west, and I deliver it. He's got it in his hand at 8 a.m. And so that worked out good, because our original agreement was for me to do the work yesterday, then take it with me to work, and then not even attempt to deliver till after my work, so he wouldn't have seen that till 5 or 6 p.m. on the next night, which is today, Wednesday. And he said, "Oh, that's okay," but it wasn't okay, because it wouldn't have fit his timeline that he told me about the next morning. So, anyways, everything worked out. I realized I was flexible enough to do it. I still was doing work on the mill with the elephant vise and doing the next shelf for the 22J collets. That's going to work out really nice. Like in this case, you know, it gets tight in the shop when stuff like that goes on, so I rolled that outside. And anyway, so it was good to have the versatility. I had enough previous experience to move through it. The thing that took me the longest was setting up the mill. I don't know. This is a 42-inch table mill. I don't know if the rams are different on these. I've never heard that they are, but I do not remember having a hard time reaching the corners. I'm gonna show you that now, because I've done shafts like that before, and it wasn't. I could hardly reach the corner to do the center of that shaft. So I'm gonna switch you around to handheld. Okay, so this is what I did. So it's an angle plate mounted to the table, and it's square to the table. Then a 246 block mounted to the angle plate, and it's square to the angle plate. Then this clamp was to go across it and hold the material. And then that's the first time I realized that it was undersized. And when this clamp didn't clamp it, and this is a precision 4-inch, it should have been tight. So 15 thousandths shim in between the part and the clamp did the trick, held it enough so I can move it around and finally get the head lined up. So the head is swiveled over and the ram is extended all the way out. And then I just did a cobble of, once I got it in position, a cobble of stuff to just support it. But literally it took 20 seconds to drill the center on the end of that. What I had done was I used the edge finder first to bulk out the center, and I couldn't move completely because of the DRO scale. I couldn't edge find one of them, so I got 3 points, and got me close enough. Then I used the indicall with the indicated in, so I was dead on the middle. And then I didn't prepare this. Let's see. So I often talk about this pallet stacker. I think every shop should have one. It's fell down. Hang on. It's extremely versatile. So I put the forks close to each other so it cradled the material, and I had it lengthwise. It's easy to move around. It picks up. I took it out to the sidewalk. That's where I transferred the material from the car onto this, brought it in with this. It parks here out of the way. It goes up nice. It holds the weight. I also used it as a in-feed for the saw when I cut the material to length. This is my saw. It's normally parked back there, but I brought it over here so I could just use have the material on the crane. So there's my crane, and that worked good. That's one reason why the lathe is positioned where it's at, so it can take full advantage of the crane. And then I have the magnet lift. And that worked great. That has a V shape on the bottom as well, so it does rounds. Lathe worked great, runs super true, head to tail is dead straight. I mentioned I gotta get some new live centers because the ones I have are old and they don't run that true. But I use the dead center carbide tip and then the heavy duty anti-seize, which handles high loads. So there was no heat generated with the dead center, running on the dead center. Speeds and feeds are great. I still have a little bit of fight going between the RPM changes. The chuck is nice and tight, so it doesn't spin real easy. So you know, you gotta fight with it. Like right now, it won't go back in gear. So I gotta find the sweet spot. It's probably gonna be harder because I'm trying to do it with one hand, but here, let's do it this way. There we go. I tripoded it. Okay, so anyways, that's my only complaint. Coolant works real good. Consistent. Again, it doesn't spit and sputter. I set it up once and then it repeats every time I turn it on. That can be a big thing. I've had worked with other lathes where it spits all over the place. Every time you turn it on, it spits in your face. Again, all that worked good. Had used a feed ratio that I could just simply go from low to high for the work. I didn't have to change all this each time. I just set up one combo and then switch between low and high feeds. One thing, there'll be a photo of it. So when you have material, so one thing, when I set this up, I accidentally retracted the center out of it before I'd made any cuts, and the chuck held the part, and it seemed to not move because when I re-engaged the center, it went right back in. But you don't want to leave a part sitting on the center for a long period of time when it's not spinning. So what I did is I just used my little jack that I've talked about before, and once I was done spinning it, I moved the carriage so it was near the tail, and I just screwed that up to the bottom of the part material. And then what I did was I just hung a rag over the material to remind me that this is underneath there. But it is nice that this is red. A lot of them are black. So, is there anything else? Other than that, I think we're pretty good. So I'm going to finalize this video. It's taking me a little while because I'm going to add some pictures. But yeah, things went really good. It was priority labor rate. That's all I'll say about that. And thanks for watching and subscribing, and I hope to get some more stuff that you like. Have a good night. Hey everybody, welcome back to Everything's a Project. This episode is going to be called Maxed Out. What we have is a 34-inch long shaft, 4-inch diameter, and it needs about 12 thousandths taken off of it. It's the shaft unfortunately was a touch undersized, so has spent a lot of time getting everything dialed in. My live centers weren't accurate enough to run between lives or run on the live, so it's running on the dead at this end, being turned by the chuck at that end. I'm using this heavy duty anti-seize that's usually used when you're grinding for parts between centers. This is the very first cut. It's not too bad. I touched off the this end, and then I touched off this end, and there was a 10 thousandths difference. This end might be close to the end cut, so this end was real wonky, but the final length is 27.5 inches, so I should be okay with having a bad end here and then being able to cut it off. So I couldn't take video of everything, but it didn't go too bad. It's the first time I've done something this big. It's 125 pounds. So we'll come back. Hey everybody, welcome back to Everything's a Project. So I made 3 roughing passes. Took off essentially 15 thou. The shaft wasn't completely true, so it wasn't until the last pass that I got a full contact, full diameter contact everywhere. So now I'm taking hopefully the finished pass, and I only had 2 thousandths left after it cleaned up for the target. So I'm taking off 1 thou right now. Seems to be behaving okay. Some materials don't like to. This is cold rolled. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop it right now and take a peek. So yeah, this is an axle for a broke down cattle truck, I believe. So hot and heavy. So it's like 9 o'clock at night, and you know, I do have a day job, but the material supplier was near my house, or near my work. So I ordered it during lunch and picked it up on my way home. And then yeah, I got to cut it to length, but it's going to be a little time consuming getting it off of here, but I got that sorted out when I put it on with the crane and everything. So we'll see.